I'm not going to save all the boards for the end. We're going to do a little bit of lecture and then play a couple of boards, and then get back into a little more discussion and then play a couple of boards, just kind of intersperse them. I was thinking about it, it will probably work fairly well with this content today, and it had also crossed my mind that Joanne had mentioned for those of you who went to Robert Todd's lecture that he did this, and I sort of wanted to give it a shot, because usually, you know, when we do play boards, they all happen at the end after we've presented all the content, but I thought maybe we'd try doing it this way because you thought that was pretty effective to break it up.
I might cement it
So
a little bit.
a little more immediacy.
Great.
So we are going to
You were
focus.
in our head yesterday when we balanced. If they bid the same suit, you balance. So we did it.
Did it work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
One time we did, one time we didn't.
So we are going to spend today on declare play, and along the way talk about some of the common suit combinations and positions that you will see. The one thing, so the one good thing that we can say about declare play, not that you don't have decisions to make on your hands, but you know the statistics haven't changed, right?
Yes.
The bidding changes and theories change, but there are suit combinations don't change as long as we have 52 cards in the deck and 13 cards in each suit, et cetera, et cetera. Some of the technical elements of play of the hand, those will be static, and so those are actually things that hopefully you can learn, and then you never have to unlearn them or change your thinking about them the way that we do with bidding, which is always evolving. Now, does anybody possess the Encyclopedia of Bridge?
Oh, I have the whole set. There's like 15 of them, and I bought them.
All right, well, this is actually the only one, so I'm going to rat you out as a liar. There is only one Encyclopedia of Bridge.
Okay. Well, then I don't have that. I have a different set.
Kurt, I do
Yes.
have it, but I've never opened it.
And I don't know that, and I've had this one for a while, so I don't. So there are probably editions that have come out since, although I don't think it changes dramatically from edition to edition. So, and I haven't gotten this out for a while, but one of the reasons. So my mentor, and nobody ever did this to me, and I wouldn't do it to anybody else, because really it's pretty sick. But the encyclopedia is organized alphabetically by, they actually have people in a different section, so they've got names, that's part of it too. But as far as any conventions or any technical terms having to do with the game whatsoever, are organized alphabetically. And if you get yourself into the S's, you will find suit combinations, which go on for something on the order of, 70 or 80 pages in the encyclopedia. So, I would, and one of my mentors in Kansas City, his mentors made him say, he'd ask about hands, and they'd say, you got to study your suit combinations. And they'd make him get out, older versions of the encyclopedia. And the way this is set up is so, give all these different ways that the cards can lie, and which honors and high, intermediates, tens and nines and things like that, are missing, how you play the suit. And it's not just, it starts with like, well, our side has 7 cards in the suit, we have 8 cards in the suit, we have 9 cards in the suit, and we're missing king, we're missing king queen, we're missing king jack, etc. That's the first part of it, and then we also have to look at how the cards divide, right? Are they 4-4, where you have maximum transportation between the two hands? Are they split 5-3? Are they 6-2? Are they 5-2? And so the encyclopedia gives you all these combinations along with the percentage chance of success to take maximum tricks. That's not exactly exciting. But if you have the encyclopedia, or if you get it at some point, it's really useful because the way, and I never sit down and read these things. I mean, I've learned a lot of these combinations along the way. But what is nice is if you are playing a hand and you confront some combination and you're like, did I play that right? Was that the right way to play it? It will be in the encyclopedia. And so you can go reference it. And I have done that before. Every now and then I'll see a combination, I'm like, if this combination's come up before, I can't remember. I wonder if that was the way to, and obviously in some of these situations, it's like, okay, you might be able to play the suit for no losers, or the best you can do is play the suit for one loser, or the best you can do is play the suit for two losers, and you're trying to play it to the maximum that you can extract from that combination. So that's why I brought that along today, and if you want to take a look at some of the examples after class, you're welcome to do so you can see how it's laid out. We are going to hit on just some of the very key, most common ones that you see all the time. And so that's why I don't have a handout per se. So if you don't have the encyclopedia on a few of these combinations, you probably will want to jot down some notes, because I didn't want to try to reproduce one-page handout from 70 pages of suit combinations in the encyclopedia. Just to let you know there is a lot there, but some of those are pretty obscure. And of course, the other thing to keep in mind when you're trying to figure out how you should play a given suit, remember that the one thing that always supersedes anything else is, did one or both of your opponents bid? Did you learn anything from the auction about the distribution? Because that changes everything, right? You get if you're playing in a game that you bid after one of your opponents preempted at the 3 level and likely holds a 7-card suit and therefore can't hold that many cards in the other suits, that is going to should adjust your line of play. So when we talk about suit combinations today, keep in mind that we are omitting situations where the opponents have bid. We are looking only at situations where the opponents would have passed throughout during the auction and given you no information, right? So it's how do you play these suits when you have nothing to go on other than pure probabilities of the cards that your side possesses and the cards that the opponents possess. So so that's the preface for today. I'm going to start off with some of the most common combinations and how we want to deal with those. And I don't know that I don't worry too much about memorizing a lot of probabilities, but it's a good idea to be aware of the ones that you see all the time. What are the probabilities? So you have an 8-card fit, and we're not looking at anything less than an 8-card fit today, because this is especially when we end up finding a fit in a trump suit, and we strive for at least to play in what is at least an 8-card fit. That's why this is one that we see all the time. So, all right, you're in an 8-card fit. You're missing 5 cards in the suit, right? Well, how can those break? Well, those are the 3 ways they can break, right? And then, of course, we actually our scenarios are actually not just 3, but 6, right? Because they can break that way with either opponent. And so that factors into the statistics. So, does anybody know offhand what is the likelihood
3-2.
of a 3-2 break?
That's the higher probability.
Can we guess?
Yes.
I would say 2/3.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, we're just gonna we'll just call it we'll call it 68%. We won't give you any repeating decimals that go on indefinitely. Yeah. So about 2/3 of the time, a suit that you have 8 cards in is going to break 3-2, and of course that's the most favorable break for you. So you know it's relatively safe for you to assume that, and you will encounter some hands where maybe you need that suit to break 3-2 to make your contract. You might also encounter some other hands that you say, okay, well, it would be nice if they break 3-2, and they're more likely than not to break 3-2, but should I be guarding against the suit splitting 4-1? Because maybe you can still make your contract, but now you need to do something different in your line of play to prepare for that. And so sometimes, and you especially see this in team play, you look at a hand and it looks pretty, oh, okay, well, I'm in 4 spades. It looks like I probably have 10 tricks. I see a loser here and a loser there, and the trump suit will probably break 3-2, and I'll be fine. Well, what if the trump suit breaks 4-1? Would that beat me, or would I have a way to still make it? And so that's where you get into, if you've heard the term safety play. Sometimes you can afford to take a safety play in a suit, and what this does is it says, okay, this way if the suit breaks 4-1, I'm still guaranteed to make my contract. But I might give up a trick that I didn't have to lose. Okay, well, that's one of the differences between playing match points and playing teams. And teams, of course, is more like rubber bridge, right? Where the most important thing is to make the contract. And match points, we do, some crazy things that aren't technically the most sound things because we're going for maximum tricks, even if we put the contract in jeopardy. So sometimes we're going to have to deal with a 4-1 break. What is the percentage likelihood that a suit will split 4-1 when we have 8 cards in it and are missing 5?
20%.
It's a little more than that.
25.
It's actually about 28%. So then that leaves us with a few percentage points left for the dreaded 5-0 break.
8%?
So
4%?
probably, yeah. So pretty unlikely, right? And it may actually be a little less than 4, because remember, these are not all hard numbers. There's some decimal. With our 68, it might be 68% point something,
like
or
it's
28
Feels
point
like
something.
more.
It feels
So-
more than that.
Feels more. Yeah.
When it
Feels
happens
higher.
to you.
Well, I mean, that's every 20 times this comes up, it's going to happen less than once every 20 times if it's 4%, right? Does it feel to you like your suits break 5-0 that often?
This is an average over like 1,000 games. So your first 10 games, you could have bad breaks.
Yeah, well, the first $10 you put in the slot machine could all be winners, right? Or they could all be losers. But that's a small sample size, right? So, yeah, in theory, once we get into large, significant sample sizes, that this is where we all come out. But
Meaning they take and affect other people's hands, not just yours.
yes, I understand that when you are playing the hand, it's the only hand in the whole world, and it's the only hand that matters. But so we also hopefully can find, and again, this can apply to any suit, but normally when we're talking about the trump suit. Again, even if we're playing in no trump and we're playing on a suit that we have 8 cards in or 9 cards in, these are all just as applicable. But a lot of times we think of this in terms of the trump suit, because so often, if we have an 8 or a 9 card fit, we are playing in that suit. So if we have a 9 card fit, we are missing,
4 cards.
and we're missing 4 cards in the suit. Well, there would be the dreaded 4-0 break, right? We could get a 3-1 break, or we could get a 2-2 break. And keep in mind, of course, that again, we can, in the case of a 4-0 break, it could be 4 with our left-hand opponent and 0 with our right-hand opponent, or vice versa. Same thing with the 3-1. The 2-2, we don't think about that because a friendly, in this case, we're missing an even number of cards in the suit. And yes, they're let's say we're missing a queen in the suit. Well, there's, equal likelihood that the queen is with our right-hand opponent or the queen is with our left-hand opponent, but that becomes rendered irrelevant when they split 2-2 anyhow, right? Because then if we play ace-king and the queen drops, it doesn't really matter which opponent had it. The suit was breaking 2-2. Do you know what the likelihood of these breaks are?
3-1 is most likely.
3-1 is most likely.
But
Yes,
the gap is smaller.
that is true. You might think off the hip, it's like, oh, but is a 2-2 break more likely? No, and the reason that a 3-1 is more likely is we could have 3 on our right or 3 on our left. In terms of probability, 3-1 is the most common way these will split, and it's right around 50%. What's the likelihood of a 2-2 break?
44%.
Pretty close, about 41.
Nice guess.
And so that leaves somewhere in the vicinity of 9% that they break 4-0, which makes sense, right? I mean, if there are 5 cards missing versus 4 cards missing for the really awful, dreaded, worst possible break, it would make sense that since this contains 5 cards and this contains 4 cards, that this would be less likely to happen than this, right? So now here's one of the weird things, and we want to look at the 8 and 9 card fits, because where this really comes into play is when we're missing one of the high honors, and not the ace, because we know we're always losing an ace when we play on that suit. But where this becomes more relevant is when we're missing a king or missing a queen, right? So when we're looking at an 8 card fit versus a 9 card fit, you have heard the old saying, right? 8 ever, 9 never, right? And what this refers to is when the missing honor is a queen. Do we bang down our ace and our king and hope for the queen to drop? Or do we play toward our jack, and when the jack is at, let's say, and it doesn't matter whether it's in our hand or in the dummy, but if the jack is sitting there with either the king or the ace, with either a high honor, the idea is we lead toward it, right? And if the queen doesn't appear for us to cover it, then we insert the jack and hope that it holds the trick. And so this is a decision of, do we finesse or do we not finesse? And so the old adage from these stats is, if we're in an 8 card fit missing the queen, we finesse, and if we're in a 9 card fit, we don't. So, and the idea behind that in that 8 card fit is, and so let's look at a scenario like that. So let's say this is the position. We're in our 4-4 spade fit, and this is the spade suit, and we have king 4th in our hand and ace jack 4th in the dummy. So the idea is that our best bet to not lose, and let's say that the idea is to play this suit for no losers. Because again, this is how you will see these things in the suit combinations if you look at them. All right. Let's say we cannot have a trump loser to make our game. We have 3 side suit losers that we can't get around, We must have no losers in the trump suit if we're going to make our 4-spade contract. All right, well, we can't lose the queen of spades. All right, well, in this kind of situation, it's pretty easy to see what we need to do, because we say, okay, we're here in our 8-card fit. If the suit breaks 5-0, we're doomed. Even if the queen is onside, we cannot handle this. And frankly, we probably can't handle it if it's a 4-1 break, at least in this scenario where I've just given you X's and I haven't given you 10 or 9, right? Because a 4-1 break, if you're missing cards like the 10 and the 9, is going to be enough to doom you. However, we can handle a 3-2 break if we can pick up the queen. So, if you need the cards to lie a certain way to make your hand, you assume they lie that way and you proceed accordingly. So, even though I'm probably the ultimate bridge pessimist, when I'm playing this hand, I'm going to say, all right, I assume that trumps are going to break 3-2, and I'm now going to do what I need to do to try to make this hand. And what you need is the queen on side, right?